isn't capitalism still based on greed?
I mean, this was honestly the question that I struggled with in college, and I'll tell you why. It's because I started by reading the Communist Manifesto and a book called Democracy for the Few by an American socialist. By the time I'd gotten to my senior year, I had read Thomas Sowell and Friedrich Hayek and a lot of the sort of classic free market economists, but I had also read Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, and I was transfixed. In fact, I was supposed to be studying for a German final and was reading Atlas Shrugged instead. And I read it, and it's compelling. It's the kind of thing when you read it when you're in college, it's, you know, it seems sort of transgressive, like, gosh, I can't believe people are saying, somebody's saying this kind of thing. And so it's compelling, and I'm convinced later it's compelling because Rand was the only one to make the entrepreneur a hero in her literature. Almost no artist has ever done that. Unfortunately, another idea also got kind of set in concrete in my mind from Rand, and it's this idea that capitalism equals greed. That's what I would call the greed myth. The greed myth is not that greed exists in the market. I mean, of course, we're a fallen race. We all bear the mark of original sin, and so you get 2 or 3 people together in a room, right? You're going to have some greed. The greed myth, though, says that the essence of capitalism is greed or selfishness. And Rand really sort of put a sharp edge on this. I mean, she actually even wrote a book called The Virtue of Selfishness. And in this book, I remember she said, capitalism and altruism are incompatible. They're philosophical opposites. They cannot exist in the same manner in the same society. I mean, that's a pretty hard claim, especially if you're a Christian, because altruism, unlike Rand's understanding, altruism is simply acting for the benefit of the other, which is what we're commanded to do. Christ sacrificed himself for others, and he commands us to do that. But it doesn't always mean that we're sacrificing. Very often, we're just simply acting for the benefit of others. If it were true that capitalism and real altruism were incompatible, Christians would have a problem with capitalism because, of course, selfishness is one of the 7 deadly sins, and altruism is one of the key virtues of the Christian life. And so this was something, honestly, I struggled with for years, even until I was in seminary. Finally read some books by people like George Gilder and Michael Novak that convinced me that this picture of the essence of capitalism is driven by greed was wrong. Yeah, certainly there's greed in a market, but if you've got a free market economy, the best way for somebody to get successful, right, to make a profit, is to provide something that people will freely buy. I mean, it's a famous statement by Adam Smith that it's not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own interest. His point isn't that butchers ought to be greedy and then we'll all be better off. His point is simply that in a free market, the butcher can just be concerned about his rent or getting braces for his daughter. But in order to fulfill that need, that generally self-interested need, he will have to provide something that people will freely buy at a price they're willing to pay. And so in other words, he'll have to act in a sense altruistically. Now that doesn't mean, again, that he's thinking warm thoughts and warm fuzzies about his customers, but it's altruistic in the sense that it's acting for the benefit of the other. And that's the essence of a free exchange. The fact that there's greed in the system, greed is a constant. And so whether you have a capitalist system or a cronyist system like the one, frankly, we have now, or a socialist system, or even a tribal system, there's going to be greed. What distinguishes a free economy from the alternatives is not greed. It's this opportunity for free exchange and for serving other people even while we pursue our legitimate self-interest.